In this lesson, we'll take a close look at the Ecam controls, and especially at the information on the right Ecam. The right Ecam is sometimes referred to as the system display, SD. It presents system diagrams to the crew. We will look at some of the common symbols used across a number of different systems, both in normal and abnormal condition. As with all aircraft indications, the colour codes draw your attention to the problem. Once you're familiar with some of the concepts behind the displays, we'll show you how to manually select each of the 12 selectable pages via the Ecam control panel, and what to check for on each one. Let's begin. All the symbols on the right display are designed in a logical, intuitive and consistent manner. In most cases, the displays are presented in the same layout as on the overhead panel and use the same symbols again and again in different system pages. Let's look at how closely the right Ecam resembles the overhead panel. Once you're familiar with the system controls, you should have no trouble interpreting the individual system indications and then the whole display in time. Let's look in more detail at some of the patterns and designs that form the displays. As we saw before, many of the symbols on the right Ecam are easily interpreted. What, for example, is the symbol for a pump off? Touch the symbol which you think describes this condition. Yes, this is the symbol which represents a pump off. Here are the descriptions of all these symbols. Would you have been able to guess them? Other common symbols used on different Ecam pages are tapes and arcs to indicate ranges. Triangles for connections to other systems, and some unique symbols which are used for specific purposes only. Regarding colour, units are always shown in cyan. Other symbols may change colour depending on their state. The numerical values, or analog indications, are green when in the correct range. Abnormal conditions are shown in the colour related to the warning level, amber or red. When values are not serviceable or received, they are replaced by a double X in amber. Some temporary components, such as wing anti-ice, are only shown when they're in use. Others have the word off in white written near the component when selected off. As you may recall, the title of the system page is shown in green if it is automatically called by the Ecam system, but white if it's manually called. We'll look at how to do this next. There is only one Ecam control panel, located in the centre of the pedestal. Select the area where it is located for a closer look. The Ecam control panel is divided into two parts. General controls for the display unit and symbol generator units, SGUs, and individual keys for the specific pages. These controls are used to switch on each display unit and to adjust the brightness of the images. There is also a symbol generator unit for each display unit. If a failure is detected by the SGU internal self-test, corresponding fault light illuminates and a white line appears on the CDU. Pressing the push button switches off the affected SGU. Both display units are now driven by the available symbol generator unit. With these push buttons, you can manually select a different page from the one automatically displayed in normal mode. These keys select the right Ecam display or SD. We will look at the system displays in detail in the last topic. These keys change the display on the left Ecam or warning display. Let's see how these three keys operate. In normal mode, all the push-button lights on the Ecam control panel are off. The clear key is the only key acting on the left display which illuminates. The clear key comes on when any page except the memo page appears on the left Ecam. Notice how the other two keys are boxed rather than lit. Two other pages could appear on the left Ecam. The first is a warning page, called automatically whenever a failure occurs. It lists the actions to be performed in relation to the failure. The warning display also indicates when actions have been performed. In this case, the faulty generator has been switched off for you. The other possible display on the left Ecam is the status page, which shows the aircraft's condition following a failure. The clear push button will remain lit while you're on any of these pages, until you return to the memo page. Once you have dealt with the failure procedure, press the clear push button as many times as necessary to clear the messages and return to the memo page. Do this now. Clear the left Ecam display. When all Ecam messages are cleared and you're back to the memo page, the clear light goes off. Note Status in the corner of the memo page reminds you that the aircraft's capabilities have been affected by the previous failure. Both the warning messages and the status page can also be manually selected for review using these keys. Select the key which shows the aircraft's condition following the previous failure. Notice the status push button does not illuminate. Instead, the clear light comes on to remind you to clear the message in case any more failures occur. Status Normal is displayed on the left Ecam if the status push button is pressed when no status information is present. Status messages are not displayed when on ground with only one engine running. The Recall button allows you to recall warning messages previously cleared provided the failures are still present, i.e. not transitory failures. Recall the previous failure. Again, the Recall push button, like the Status push button, does not have an associated light. Instead, the clear light comes on when these push buttons are pressed. More details of the operation of these Ecam controls will be given when we look at more failures in later lessons. But first, let's see what the system push buttons do. As we saw before, the right Ecam automatically displays the most relevant system page for you during the flight. However, you should also periodically review the other system pages and check the important parameters during the cruise phase. These system push buttons allow you to manually select any of these system displays, one at a time. Select each page in turn to review its contents and find out what you should pay special attention to. When you're ready, select the forward icon to continue. On the engine page, you should check the oil pressure and temperature in particular. On the bleed page, check the bleed parameters. The APU page is automatically shown during APU start when the APU master switch is on. There is nothing specific to check on it during cruise. On the hydraulic page, you should review the fluid quantities. Note that the green system should be lower than on the ground following landing gear retraction. On the air conditioning page, you should compare the duct temperature with the zone temperature. Avoid large differences in order to improve passenger comfort. On the flight control page, you should note any unusual surface positions. You should check the generator parameters and the IDG oil temperature on the AC page. On the cabin pressure page, check the cabin altitude and vertical speed. The door page is automatically shown before engine start and after shutdown. There is nothing specific to check on it during cruise. Check the status of the batteries on the DC page. Check the general fuel distribution on the fuel page. The wheel page is automatically displayed before takeoff and during landing. There is nothing specific to check on it during cruise. No. Select one of the pages to display it on the system. More details on the contents of these system pages can be found in the relevant system chapter. Suppose you looked at the bleed parameters last. Now return the Ecam to the cruise page by selecting the push button which is lit. Regular attention should also be paid to the Ecam cruise page so that passenger temperatures may be monitored and adjusted accordingly. That completes this lesson on the right Ecam display and control panel. Now for some quiz questions.